Hello, and welcome to our webinar for state arts agencies and regional arts organizations. My name is Beth Bienvenue, and I am the Director of the Office of Accessibility at the National Endowment for the Arts. My office works with the state arts agencies and regional arts organizations, as well as arts organizations across the country, to help them ensure that their programs and facilities are accessible to everyone. We are here to assist you in any way we can, including training, teleconferences, and webinars such as these. Before we get started, I'd like to provide a few updates from the NEA. Many of you have heard from our new chairman, Dr. Jane Chu, who arrived at the NEA in June. But we also recently welcomed our new senior deputy chairman, Laura Callanan. Laura brings to the NEA a broad range of experience in art, philanthropy, innovation, and social impact, and has worked extensively in the nonprofit, philanthropic, and academic sectors. We look forward to working with her as she settles into the agency. I should also mention that our new guidelines will be released later this week, so keep your eyes open for the announcement. Many of you attended our peer session at the LEAD conference in Chicago in August. 30 accessibility coordinators from the states and regions attended the peer session and the conference, and we covered such topics as partnerships and web accessibility, and we also had opportunities for the states to have conversations within their regions. I hope this was useful to those who attended, and we are planning to have another peer session at the LEAD conference in Washington, D.C. in August of 2015, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Finally, I'd like to remind you that we have a listserv for state and regional accessibility coordinators. If you are not on the list, please be sure to let me know and we'll add you. I'd like to thank NASA for setting up and managing this listserv. We've had many good discussions so far and look forward to staying in touch using this tool. And now some housekeeping. You are all muted and will only be able to hear us. Today, we will have a 45-minute PowerPoint presentation followed by a Q&A session. You can submit questions or comments at any time using the Q&A box below the PowerPoint. We will do our best to address as many as possible during the time we have. And please do not use the raise hand button. This webinar will be posted on the webinars section of our website in a few days, so you can refer to it in the future. We'll send out a note when it's posted. And now for our speakers and presentation for today. I am pleased to introduce the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, which has long been considered a leader in cultural accessibility. They were one of the first state arts agencies to develop a network of experts to train and assist cultural organizations in their state, and were recognized for their efforts with the Accessibility Leadership Award from the NEA and NASA in 2004. Today, you will hear from them and their key partner in this work, the Cultural Access Network Project, which is a program of the New Jersey Theater Alliance. They will talk about their partnership and what you can do to implement vital connections in your state to provide assistance to your constituents. So I'd like to introduce our three speakers. We have Don Eman, the Director of Arts Inclusion and Artist Services, and he's also the Access Coordinator for the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. Next, we have John McEwen, the Executive Director of the New Jersey Theater Alliance, and Robert Carr, the Director of Programs and Services and the ADA Coordinator at the New Jersey Theater Alliance. So I'll turn it over to Don, who will introduce the rest of the webinar. Thanks.
Beth, thank you. The Cultural Access Network is a co-sponsored program of the New Jersey State Council on the Arts and the New Jersey Theater Alliance. The Council has provided grant support for the programs and services of the Cultural Access Network for over 20 years. The Cultural Access Network's success is due in large part to the diversified group of dedicated volunteers, many of whom who have a disability, who serve on its steering committee, and to the outstanding leadership of John McEwen, Executive Director of the New Jersey Theater Alliance and founder of the Cultural Access Network, and his colleague Robert Carr, Director of Programs and Services. John?
Thank you, Don, and good afternoon, everybody. Delighted to be with you all. So I thought we would just take a very quick moment just to give you some background on how the Cultural Access Network project began. Back in 1990, I was working for Paper Mill Playhouse, our state's largest theater, and developed many of its access programs there. And as I was surveying our state, it seemed as if Paper Mill was maybe not the only, but certainly one of just a handful of organizations that was providing any kind of access work. So I did speak with the staff over at the State Arts Council, and they agreed with me and thought that this was an area that needed some focus. And after speaking with the staff, I went directly to the Arts Council's chair at the time, Elizabeth Christofferson, and chatted with her and her vice chair and wanted to find a way that we could maybe partner together. And that's how the Cultural Access Network was formed. And I do believe that with a blessing from the council staff, it was actually going to the leadership of our State Arts Council and having that discussion and getting them in at the ground floor that allowed us the success and the commitment from our council that we have today. And we are certainly blessed to have this partnership all these years. The first thing that we started was a conference, a statewide conference, where we brought everybody together, and we did attract more than 300 people to just begin to look at all areas of arts access. And this was help the Cultural Access Network actually develop its future programs over the years in terms of sensitivity training and ADA planning, etc. But it was that first statewide conference that really got the education off the ground and began to bring arts access to the awareness of the field. As Don mentioned just a moment ago, the success of this work would not be possible without the volunteers that make up our steering committee. And the reason I'm sharing this slide with you is just to give you an idea of the types of organizations that are represented on this committee. And we really strongly advise, we advise our organizations here in the state, but certainly all of you, by putting together some form of an advisory board is extremely beneficial. And as you'll see, we have representatives of regional organizations, state organizations, patrons that have a disability that attend the arts, cultural administrators that are providing leadership programs in the areas of arts access, an architect. They have truly been wonderful guides to our work. One of the first, after our conference back in 1993, one of the first things that we established was a self-assessment survey. And I want to give a special shout out to the Ohio Arts Council. They had developed a self-assessment survey that I thought was quite wonderful, and that actually served as a foundation for developing the self-assessment survey here in New Jersey. And the self-assessment tool really provides organizations an opportunity to really take a look back at what they are currently offering in their programs and in their marketing, their facilities, and then what is possible. We do have a copy of this self-assessment survey on our website, which we will talk about a little bit later, so you do all have access to it. It is quite a large document, and we do ask not that you don't fall off your chair when you open it. And the reason it's so large is that it is divided in a variety of sections: marketing, performing arts, visual arts, facilities. So some sections may not be applicable to all organizations, but also with each question there is a guide as it relates to the ADA. So for example, it might say, are your door widths at least the appropriate width? And then there's a column to the right that says, according to the ADA, door widths should be at least 36 inches wide to be considered accessible. So there's guidance like that throughout the assessment tool, as well as many appendices to assist organizations as they develop planning. And we do ask our organizations and encourage them to work together with another colleague at their organization to work on a self-assessment plan before they even begin to develop an ADA plan. We feel you need to know where you've been to know where you're going. And the self-assessment really does give organizations a clear understanding of what they're currently working on, what's possible as they begin to move forward. And I'll turn the next piece of the presentation over to Robert Carr.
Thank you, John. Using the self-assessment tool as a backbone and a foundation for ADA plans, in 2011, the New Jersey Theater Alliance's Cultural Access Network project developed a new process to simplify the ADA plan requirement for cultural organizations requesting funds from the State Arts Council. This new process makes it possible for representatives to complete their plan requirement by utilizing an online form which captures all the information the organization intended to include in their plan. The online collection system simplifies the input process for the organization, and the data is collected and formatted into a standardized plan outline, which you'll see to the right, which is distributed to the organization itself, the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, as well as plan evaluators for review. A support section was developed on the New Jersey Theater Alliance website for ADA plan creation, including worksheets, samples of plan sections, and other support materials to assist organizations as they develop their ADA plans. A companion process was also created for evaluators to aid in the process, giving them the opportunity to include constructive comments and suggestions to the organization as they further develop their plan. Evaluators fill out a similar online form which collects review data, comments, and suggestions. The evaluation data is then formatted into a standardized report the same way the plan data is, and then given to the organization. In March of 2014, a full round of 3-year plan submission and evaluation was completed. The feedback from the field has been very positive, with many organizations complimenting us on the changes. Most have remarked that the process is easier and has created a more thoughtful approach to access planning. I'm going to pass the next section over to Don Eman, who's going to talk about the collection and evaluation of the long-range plans.
Once organizations have submitted their 3-year plan, it is evaluated by members of the steering committee. An approved 3-year ADA plan is a requirement for receiving grant funds from the Arts Council. An organization whose plan is not approved has their funding withheld until the plan is revised and approved. The Cultural Access Network conducts a conference call with the executive director, ADA coordinator, and a board member to review the evaluation comments and answer questions about the evaluation of the plan for those organizations whose plans need to be rewritten. John?
So I thought it would be helpful for all of you to know, over the years since we've been doing collecting ADA plans and reviewing them, we have observed some areas of growth, but also some areas that organizations still find of some challenge. So the areas of growth since the Arts Council has made this requirement and we've extended our technical assistance, we've seen organizations across the board expand and develop policies as it relates to ADA. For example, having organizational policies that they now are putting up on their websites, these policies being adopted by their board of directors. We believe that that access is not just a responsibility of one individual, but an organizational responsibility. So we do ask for policies to be board approved, and organizations have really stepped up to the plate in terms of implementing and adopting various policies, including the identification of an ADA coordinator at their organization. They also have worked tirelessly in developing advisory boards. So our organizations, either they have an advisory board that they've developed on their own, or one of the recommendations we've made is that they share an advisory board with organizations in their in a local geographic area. Since many organizations might be going after similar folks, we felt that the sharing of an advisory board that could be beneficial to multiple organizations would be a way to go, and we see many organizations doing that. Organizations have been very innovative in developing programs. They're using access symbols in all of their brochures and on their websites. They have a better understanding of how to assess their facility and make plans for facility improvements. And those organizations that are touring to other venues, they now have riders that they've developed or letters of agreement to ensure that the venues that they're attending have a clear understanding that this particular organization has a commitment to access, and to be able to have an understanding of what access services will be provided when that performing organization presents in another venue. Some areas that continue to be of some challenge is always budgeting, what a surprise, and fundraising. Finding enough resources to do the programs that they're looking for, looking to implement, and also making sure that access is part of their organizational budget, that it's not just a one-time program expense, but that it is an organizational priority, much like they would have a marketing budget each year. Access should also be implemented into their overall operational budget. Making sure that there's an understanding of access in all departments of organizations, so the development office, the marketing office, the box office, front of house, to ensure that access truly is an organizational priority and not just the responsibility of one individual. Being able to long-term planning, and this goes back to the budgeting, to make sure that access is not just this one sign-interpreted performance or one captioned or one audio description service, but yet that once a program is developed, that it can be carried out and consistent throughout the organization's program planning period. And target marketing, being able to really have a clear understanding of the constituencies in their community, being able to go out and speak to various constituencies so that they can enhance their mailing lists and really provide some direct target approaches to the various constituencies that would benefit from a wide range of access services. And then assessing their websites, making sure that all technology, that they have the resources to ensure that websites and other social media are all given consideration in their access plans. Several years ago, well, not so, about 10 years ago, we actually collaborated with our State Arts Council and the Wallace Foundation in conducting a series of focus groups. And this was extremely helpful in having a better understanding of the perceptions and buying patterns of individuals with disabilities and their cultural participation. We believe that this was the very first full study of this kind, and some of the findings from that focus group still help direct our work today, and just wanted to take a moment to share that with you. A lot of individuals with disabilities shared with us that they found information on cultural organizations' websites to be inaccurate, that it was not always consistent with reality, or if they called the organization, the receptionist or whoever was answering the phone was not always aware of access services that might be offered at that organization, which provided some frustration. Individuals with disabilities also shared that they're very apprehensive about attending a venue for the first time, not sure what barrier they might encounter, and shared with us that many times they called an organization in advance, was informed that the organization was barrier-free, but once they got to the cultural organization, there was some barrier. So that provided some apprehension about attending a venue for the very first time. They found accessible information on an organization, if they had it in print or on a website, was often buried and difficult to locate. So rather than having multiple clicks on a website, they like to see it with just one click and something visible. Or in printed material, rather than having it in small type, maybe off to a corner on a postcard, they like to make sure that they can see those access symbols clearly, and that they can gain that accessible information without too much difficulty, especially on the website. Making sure that staff was fully trained, not only the staff that's answering the phone, but ushers or docents, that again, access being an organizational priority, that it wasn't just the responsibility of one person, that anyone that they would be encountering at the organization had a clear understanding of access services being offered at the institution. They felt that it would be wonderful to find a way to have one-stop shopping, It was to really have a clear understanding of what access programs and services are available. They have to really go to separate organizations and really do a lot of detective work. If there was one area that they could go to, that would be extremely helpful. And in New Jersey, and probably in several of your communities, transportation is a challenge. And that was, most individuals do rely on a friend or companion to bring them to a cultural organization, which sometimes limits the numbers of visits they'll make to a cultural activity. Sign interpretation and open captioning is one of the programs that we promote and share background information on for our field. We do offer some mini grant initiatives to our field so that they can offer an open captioned or a sign interpreted performance. We keep a roster of sign interpreters so that organizations that might be looking for an interpreter, they can come to us and we can provide them with a list of choices. We also, rather than organizations going out and buying listening enhancement equipment on their own, we've purchased probably about 8 dozen headsets, FM receivers, as well as transmitters, so that organizations can, we loan the equipment out to the organizations rather than each organization having to go out and purchase equipment on their own. Knowing that there's a limited pool of theatrical interpreters in our area, we established a training program last spring with the folks that actually did the sign interpreted training, theater training at Juilliard many years ago. And due to funding, that program stopped. So we thought that there was a real need here to expand the pool of theatrical interpreters, which is definitely a unique skill, different from an interpreter that might sign for a conference or a meeting. And we have 24 students went through that program, and we're continuing to offer them mentorships and workshops throughout this year so that their skill set can be strengthened, and we can actually expand that pool, which will allow our theaters to be able to offer more theatrical interpreted performances.
And in that same vein, we're also creating an education series to enhance the pool of qualified audio describers. We're putting together a curriculum based on teachers who were taught by the inventor of audio description, Margaret Fansteel. We're very fortunate enough to have some very highly qualified audio describers here, and they're going to share their knowledge, again, to enhance the pool of qualified audio describers. We're also going to be reaching out to teach more folks to give more rich sensory seminars to enhance their own skills for live description, and as we mentioned, the audio description training. As our organizations create program, we want to make sure that they are utilizing marketing and outreach to reach populations to take part in these activities. So we encourage them to utilize access symbols properly, to make sure that they're using them correctly, and to reach the audiences that they're trying to do. We have a list of email blasts that we suggest that they make sure that they put their information on. We offer them sample press releases to make sure that they're using the proper language, person-first language, making sure that they're getting their information correct in articles and newsletters. We make sure that they're reaching out to periodicals that reach audiences with disabilities, Able News, our monthly communicator, which is a publication of our New Jersey Division of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. We work closely with the Offices on Aging in the state, and they have proved to be a great resource, as well as our county offices serving people with disabilities, to make sure that they can get their programming information out to them as well. We also we work with our New Jersey Commission for the Blind, as well as I mentioned, the New Jersey Division of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. We're also very excited we had started the process of redoing the New Jersey Theater Alliance website, and it gave us an absolutely terrific opportunity to really put into a searchable database the enormous amount of resources that we've been collecting over the years. And this new website is going to give organizations who have a question about any facet of accessibility to go on if they're either working on their ADA plans or have a question that they'd like answered, to be able to go onto our website, do a search by either category or keyword, and get some information to help them out as they work on their access efforts.
For the past 6 years, the annual Access Awards have provided an opportunity for advocacy, networking, recognition of model programs, and presentations by artists with disabilities. Guest speakers and panels on current topics round out the educational component of the program. Last year, we were proud to have had Beth Bienvenue open the program and speak on national trends and the work of her office. John?
So some of the other services that we provide is we do provide sensitivity training. We make sure that in each region of the state that we provide some training that enables front of house, docents, volunteers to be able to have an understanding and ask questions about the best way to communicate and greet individuals with disabilities. We also work very closely with our county offices for the disabled to ensure that there's individuals with disabilities that join us in these sensitivity training so that they can share their own experiences when they've attended cultural venues, the good experiences as well as some of the challenges that they had. Organizations, as you know, as we've discussed this afternoon, do need to submit an ADA plan to the State Arts Council. And every year we do provide training on how to write an ADA plan, utilizing the online system that Bob talked about earlier. And again, we make sure that this occurs at least 3 times prior in advance of the deadline for the submission of the plan in each region of our state, and gives organizations an opportunity to ask questions, receive guidance on the best way to update their plans or actually start a plan from scratch. We also provide a wide range of roundtables for our field. So just to give you some examples of some of the educational offerings that will occur in the new year, we're going to bring ADA coordinators together from our cultural organizations for an opportunity for them to share ideas, to discuss some challenges, policies within their organizations. This will be the first time, actually, that we will bring ADA coordinators from all artistic disciplines together in one room for a sharing session. We also will continue our roundtables on how to best serve audiences with hearing loss and deafness, what programs and services to provide to meet the needs of that constituency, as well as those individuals with vision loss, how best to market your programs to people with disabilities. What are some of the tips in terms of fundraising to obtain financial resources in support of your programs? And a roundtable on facility access will also be offered. We also want to ensure that we provide organizations with information on how best to take advantage of artists with disabilities. And in fact, back in 2009, we established a partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts and developed a series of workshops in a program called Building Bridges for Employability in the Arts, which allowed us to feature the artistry of a wide range of both visual and performing artists to begin to have discussions with cultural organizations and artists with disabilities so that the knowledge and the awareness of both were discussed, that we could actually help to network and build bridges between the artists and the organizations. And also, in each of these sessions, we were also able to showcase the work of artists with disabilities that better educated our cultural organizations on the artists that are out there and the quality of their work, in the hopes that there would be some employment opportunities in the future. I have a list here of some sponsors and partners, and the reason I've listed this is just to give you an idea of some of the types of organizations that we're working with that you'll also can hopefully think about partnering within your communities. We do have a few pharmaceutical companies here in New Jersey, and certainly Johnson & Johnson is the largest, and they have been, they believe in the work that we're doing, and they have been a long-time partner with the Theater Alliance and the State Arts Council in this work. The Kessler Foundation, Kessler, as many of you know, is a rehabilitation center here. They've established a foundation several years ago, and they too have been a long-time partner in this work. As you'll see, we have partnered with and have received support from a couple of organizations that provide services and support for senior activity, and also our other state agencies, such as the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and the New Jersey Division of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, have also been not only partners in terms of resource, a great resource to us, but we've also worked, we've also received some grant money from them for some of our initiatives. And we just established recently an Alliance for Arts and Health, which is really an organization that's working closely with the arts field as well as healthcare providers. And we see a lot of synergy there and have relied on them as a resource and vice versa. So that's been a nice partnership. Looking ahead, more and more organizations are being made aware of sensory-friendly performances, and New Jersey is one of the states with the largest autism community, and we've had a few of our organizations provide sensory-friendly performances, and we're actually looking to provide more educational opportunities to the field on how best to reach this constituency and benefit this constituency in the arts. And actually our steering committee, we are actually in the process now of speaking to some individuals in our state who are working in this field, and hoping that they will engage with us on our Cultural Access Steering Committee. It has been several years. 2005 was the last time that series of focus groups was conducted. And we feel a lot has changed from a technology standpoint. Even our organizations, we've seen tremendous growth in what they're offering individuals with disabilities. So we feel it would be a good time to once again do another round of focus groups. And we think that information would be very, very different from some of the feedback that we received 10 years ago, and would be very helpful in continuing our work. We have given a lot of thought to standardizing some language throughout our community when we're promoting access services. A very quick story, well, I guess about a year ago now, I handed my father, who's 85 and has some mobility and hearing loss, and handed him a brochure about some arts access initiatives, and it said, services for people with disabilities. He got very irate and handed back the brochure to me and said, "I don't have a disability." And he really didn't want to discuss it. And it got me to thinking that sometimes our word choices and how organizations are expressing the services they have, there might be individuals like my dad that could benefit from open captioning, from listening enhancement, but do not consider themselves somebody with a disability. And at the end of the day, we are really, what we're doing is providing patron services. So we're really thinking here in New Jersey, not only in our state, but then to work with our colleagues at the Kennedy Center and at LEAD, of how we might change the national language in terms of how we're marketing and promoting these services. Certainly there are individuals with disabilities that are proud, and certainly being identified that way is fine. But there are many individuals that benefit from a wide range of these services that don't think of themselves as somebody with a disability. They're older, they might be older adults, and may not just respond to that terminology. So that's something that we're giving a lot of thought to here, and how we might be much more inclusive in how we market and promote things in the future. And we just established a partnership with Google, and thanks to the Kessler Foundation, we were able to have Google come out to all of our theaters and film the theater and take a virtual tour that our theaters have now put up on their website. And in the virtual tour, it does show all public spaces of our theaters, as well as access areas, accessibility seating, restrooms. They'll be able to see the height of box office counters, where the concession stands are, the parking area, if there is a ramp, where that might be located. And remember earlier when I was talking to you about some of the lessons we learned from our focus groups, one of them was the apprehension that individuals had going to a venue for the first time. And this, we hope that these Google tours will, they'll certainly be universal access, because everybody will benefit from the Google tour before they visit a venue. But certainly anyone with any kind of a disability, we're hoping that these virtual tours will relieve some of that apprehension before their visit. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about as we make plans moving the Cultural Access Network forward.
For its collaborative work with the New Jersey Theater Alliance and the Cultural Access Network, the New Jersey State Council on the Arts was the recipient of the National Accessibility Leadership Award from the NEA and the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. We followed that up with hosting a two-day conference in 2006 for the ADA coordinators of the Mid-Atlantic Arts Councils. We also provided in 2008 a online searchable database of services provided by organizations and the performances and cultural events being presented at them. Also in 2004, John McEwen received the inaugural LEAD Award for Excellence in Accessibility Leadership Award. And in this past year, Robert Carr has received the inaugural LEAD Community Asset Award for his work with the Cultural Access Network. And if you have any questions about information we've provided today, please take a look at our contact information for myself, John, or Robert. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have or explain any of the information that's on the website at newjerseytheateralliance.org/access. Beth?
Great. Thank you so much, Don and John and Bob. This was great information. We've always looked to the New Jersey Arts Council and your partners as a model for a statewide network and partnerships. And you did a great job of encapsulating this and explaining how it works, the history, a bit of the history of it, and the type of activities that you're doing. it was great information, not only about the statewide network, but you also offered some specific best practices around the state that might be helpful for the others. I just want to remind people that you can type in your questions if you have any questions or kudos or anything you'd like to say. So I do have a couple of questions that I want to ask. You have this wonderful 20-year history of working together. So some folks on the call might be thinking, well, we don't have that established, and that's been going on for a while. What can we do to get started? What recommendations do you have for people to get started? Not every state has a theater alliance or an organization like that, but what recommendations might you have, or some low-hanging fruit or easy first steps that people can make?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be happy to take a shot at that question. I think at the time, I was actually at Paper Mill Playhouse when this actually started. So I think it might be a state arts council might take a look at one of the cultural organizations that is doing some great work in this area, and looking to partner with them, and maybe just bringing some folks together, much like the the roundtable that we're going to be doing this year with ADA coordinators. It might be just to bring some people around a table, have the regional organizations, councils identify some groups that might be working in this area, and just come together for some conversation. And I will say I believe that statewide conference, that first kind of educational offering that we provided, really gave us a better understanding of what the needs of the field were. Before we started offering many, many different kinds of programs and services, we had a conversation. The Arts Council took some initiative and connected with an arts organization, in this case Paper Mill at the time, and then said, well, we're not really, let's just spend a day and have an educational day of an overview of various arts access information. And from those discussions, we'll be able to see where we might be able to what services we might be able to implement and carry beyond that conference. So I think in the beginning it's always reaching out to a couple of folks in your community and just beginning the discussion on what's possible that you might be able to put together. It might just be a couple of roundtable discussions before you even go into a conference program.
And John, to add to that, I think what's helped the State Arts Council is also reaching out to those organizations that are already in existence that provide these types of services. As you saw from the slide earlier, we work with the New Jersey Division of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, the New Jersey Commission for the Blind. Most states have such types organizations. We also work with the county cultural and heritage commissions in all 21 counties of the state, which receive funding from the Arts Council for local arts programming. And we've also reached out to the county offices on aging and the county offices on disability services. And most states have these organizations in place already. And it's a matter of reaching out to them and opening up the conversation. Beth?
Beth?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just talking away without the microphone. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that. Every state has state and county offices on aging and on disability, so those are great partnerships to engage in. And you also talked earlier about reaching out to disability-based organizations, disability service organizations. Do you have any other suggestions for the types of groups to reach out to within the disability community?
I think it's certainly those, if you individuals that for hearing loss, vision loss, as we said, offices of aging. I would reach out to, if there is an organization, we have a couple here in New Jersey that actually serve families with that have children with autism. I would reach out and bring them to the table. In activity coordinators at senior centers. We're doing a lot of work actually here at the Theater Alliance in communicating and bringing them to the table and finding ways to offer cultural opportunities for their residents. So beyond the offices of the aging, it's going right to some senior campuses and being able to work with their activity coordinators. And also
Great.
in speaking with your cultural organizations, if they...
Right. Go ahead.
In speaking with some of your cultural organizations that might be offering some accessible programming, asking them if there's some patrons that they might be willing to identify that would be willing to join you in some of these exploratory discussions. I have found that it's the patrons with disabilities that are actually benefiting from the various programs and services that the field is looking to offer to be extremely helpful and beneficial as programs and services are designed.
Great. And I want to encourage any of the folks on the call that do not already have a disability advisory board to look into that, to tap into your communities and develop an advisory board. It doesn't have to meet in person, just people you can tap into to answer questions, to go to for advice, and to get feedback on what the people with various disabilities are experiencing throughout the state in their cultural organizations.
Yeah, Beth, the Cultural Access Network only meets 4 times a year officially, and one of those is the annual awards meeting. But then we break out into smaller groups to deal with individual programs so that we're not utilizing all of the steering committee all of the time, but each individual on the steering committee volunteers to assist on different programs that they have strengths in.
Great, and I like that idea of not taxing any of the individual members of your steering committee or advisory committee too much, and to just using their expertise where necessary. That's good. But it's always good to get them together once in a while because a lot of new ideas come out of that. Let's see. Oh, I also wanted to point out, you mentioned working with aging services and senior centers in various places. We now have 30 states participating in the state communities of practice in arts, health, and aging that's sponsored by the NEA and the National Center for Creative Aging. And quite a few of those states are here on the call today and participated in calls earlier this week and on Monday and today. So I see some great things coming out of that, and there's so much overlap between the work in creativity and aging and in accessibility. So take advantage of those synergies that are coming out of that and see what that can do within your state, and take advantage of that network as well. I do have one last question. You might have already kind of addressed this. New Jersey isn't one of the biggest states in the country, but you are very dense, and you have, I've driven through there, very congested traffic. So getting around the state is difficult, especially, those of you who have really busy schedules. What do you do? How can you engage people on a regional basis? Because not every state arts agency has the funding for travel. So what can people do either remotely or on a regional basis to promote this type of activity?
Well, as Don had mentioned, we do work closely with our county cultural and heritage commissions throughout the state as partners. We conduct a wide range technical assistance, the counties often will invite the network to attend local regional meetings of their regrantees to build their education and awareness of how to make their programs and facilities accessible. Many of our counties now are also asking their regrantees to submit some kind of some form of an ADA long-range plan, maybe not as extensive as what the State Arts Council recommends, but it does provide them some kind of, the counties are looking for some kind of planning document, an indication that local groups are also thinking on how best to reach to individuals with disabilities. So we do offer a lot of programming and education on a very local level.
Great.
John and Robert and I attend all of the meetings all over the state. And the grant that the Arts Council provides the Theater Alliance for the Cultural Access Network does help to underwrite that travel. But as John mentioned, we try to utilize the members of our steering committee who live in different regions of the state to join us nearby when we have those meetings.
Great, and that raises another point that, I often talk about in our accessibility coordinator training that, most of you guys, a lot of folks that come into these positions aren't experts in accessibility yet. So that's why partners are so important. So partners such as groups like the New Jersey Theater Alliance, people like Don and Bob, who can provide this kind of support for you and provide that expertise, and also help you reach out to other experts within your state to help do that. Your role is partly as conveners and facilitators, so take advantage of who you have in the state who can provide this type of assistance. So those are all the questions I have. Do any of the three of you have any final comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say that this project, the Cultural Access Network project, didn't happen overnight. It was developed over years, and it's been sustained by the continual funding from the State Arts Council, which has seen this as a priority. And I must say that I've only been doing this for about the last 10 or 12 years, and I have learned most of what I know through the national programs that have been offered through the NEA, through the Kennedy Center, and through my predecessor, Steve Runk, who was the ADA coordinator here at the Council from 1992 until 2002 when I took over.
Right. It's a great point that these things take a while to develop, but you guys have done a great job.
Thank you. And I would say, just to echo that, to really start with a conversation. I think bringing some people around a table, some of the community organizations that are serving people with disabilities, as well as some arts colleagues that might be offering some access services, and just begin to brainstorm on what would be possible in your region to keep the dialogue going and to build up the awareness and the education in this field. And it might be just in the beginning, maybe it's a conference, maybe it's a series of roundtables, and everything starts with a conversation. And I think always the first step is just bringing some dedicated, bright people together and having that dialogue and seeing where it takes you.
I would only add that this work isn't being done for the first time, and there is an enormous amount of resources out there, folks that have been doing this work for a long time, and to lean on them and ask away.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah. No, definitely. Like I said, tap into the resources in your state and just continue to do the great work. So I'd like to wrap this up. I'd like to thank Don and John and Bob. You did a great job, and thank you for sharing all of your great information. We will continue to hold webinars and teleconferences. I think the next thing on our agenda is to hold some regional conferences, and I encourage you all to attend the LEAD conference. We'll be working with the regionals to provide assistance for that, and you'll get more information later this spring. It's the first week of August, the 3rd through the 6th, I believe, or the 4th through the 6th, and we'll have another peer session, and the conference will have another workshop, or we're planning to have a workshop on what states are doing. We're very excited about doing this. It'll be in Washington, D.C., and that's a chance for you to meet with people in your state that you might not know about who are experts in this, and you can make those connections and also learn from other states and around the country. So I look forward to talking with you more into the new year. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I look forward to seeing you in August. Thanks.